Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Hollywood Interviews. I'm here with Dustin, as you know, and we also have a very awesome guest for you today, Carlos Moreno. How are you doing, Carlos? Thank you for being on the show.
I'm doing great. When you said awesome guest, I kind of looked behind me to see who else was here.
You're awesome. That hat alone, is a number one awesome thing right there. That thing is totally cool. Jacking my style, Carlos. So what we like to do as an opener question, we sort of ask all the guests, what drew you to want to pursue a career in film and television?
That's a good question. It kind of went in different directions as I was growing up. I think my cousin and I, who used to do shows for our families, whenever we would get together, first started as both wanting to be comedians. And then we both kind of started getting into acting. And when I went to college in New York to be an actor, one of my professors saw the way I was notating my scripts. And he was like, you might want to look into directing. So that changed everything for me.
Absolutely. Excellent. Yeah, that's Dustin and I actually have similar stories. He's more the director in the duo and I'm more of the actor, but I wanted to be a director, but then have found that I like, being in front of the camera. So, and it was actually a teacher of mine, like a drama teacher in sort of college, that said, hey, maybe you should be an actor. Cause I was like, no, I'm just some goofy dude. And then, maybe you should do it. I was like, okay, absolutely. Excellent. Thank you, Carlos.
Yeah, I had never thought about, going into that direction. And I was like, you know what? I don't mind telling people what to do. Let's try it.
Let's do it.
It is the best part of being a director, maybe? I don't know.
Only if they listen. Only if they listen.
There you go.
This is very true. Carlos, you are a script supervisor. So for the audience that doesn't know what a script supervisor is, what is a script supervisor?
Well, it's a little different from depending on what type of I do television. But so it's a little bit different between live television or live, television that's live to tape and doing single camera. So as a single camera script super, their responsibility is to take notes of all the different takes that you do. You'll write down the camera coverage that goes with those takes. And then you're also keeping an eye on continuity. Now, on the live side of things, which I spent the beginning part of my career doing, was you're building production schedules, much like what a first AD would do in single camera or in drama work. You're also building what's called a rundown. If anyone's familiar with what a television rundown is, it's basically act by act break of what how the format of a show. And then when you're in the control room, you're taking notes and you're also in charge of timing the show. So I did that from the time that I moved out here to LA until that was 2001 until about 2014, I think, when I started really transitioning into the directing world.
Awesome.
Dude, that's awesome. Absolutely. So you mentioned, of course, live television. So you've had a long career right now. I mean, you just said that's just part of it from 2001 to 2014. What do you love about television? And sort of, if you could continue on your career as a director, would you want to continue in television, or would you want to branch out into maybe doing more directorial film?
I get that question a lot. My wife actually asked that question to me quite a bit because there's more money in film. But as my career has taken its path, I, much like a lot of I was in college and I started shooting short films while in college, and when I was in college, there was no such thing as nonlinear editing. We were still doing deck to decks, and my sophomore year of college, someone introduced me to something called Media 100.
Yes.
If you guys remember that, it was a very early version of Avid. So just kind of did a lot of little short films, and I was directing plays because the school I went to was basically more of a theater school than it was a film school. But it's progression, and time. Like when I moved out here to LA, I really started getting more and more into working in talk shows and doing concerts, and just a lot of kind of variety type of television specials and whatnot. And I've really grown attached to doing live music. So that, ultimately what I would love to be able to do is something along the lines of like an SNL or just something very variety, that where you're doing comedy sketches, but you're also have live music, and and even sometimes maybe some dramatic pieces.
That's the dream for all of us. I would love that. There's no greater format. That's so much fun. Music is in, music brings people together. So does comedy. So does drama. And it makes things entertaining. So excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just, for me, it's always, something like that always keeps you on your toes. And,
True.
And I think that's why I wound up being drawn to doing live television, because you really never know what's going to happen. And if you make a mistake, you just got to go with it. It's just like doing, being an actor and doing theater. You forget your line. Oh well, you just got to keep going.
Gotta roll with it.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
good advice anyway to people. Is like, just don't freeze up. Just roll with it.
Yeah, act like you've been there before.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah, you I would say you've got experience in that department with you work on the show The Talk.
Yes.
So that I'm guessing that goes off the rails quite a lot.
I've been there for 8 seasons now. And it's always a surprise. I mean, we've been through so many waves of different hosts, especially lately.
Yeah.
A year ago, we had a very different set of hosts. In fact, we're approaching our 1-year anniversary of the day our entire show changed, when Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood had their disagreement on air, live on television.
Were you there? Were you there that day?
Oh yes, I was.
Oh.
It's interesting because when something like that's happening, not only do you feel really uncomfortable, but I have to interact a lot with the executive producers, and they have to tell me what we're doing, where we're going. And for the longest time in that period, which felt forever, but it really was only about 20 minutes of television, nobody knew what was happening. So you just kind of have to keep going with the flow, and you're cutting a show live, and it's uncomfortable, and people are, even in the back row of the control room are kind of yelling at each other. And see, it's like we wanted to go to commercial. So we finally got to commercial and just kept on going. And so it's like, okay, I guess we're going to have to come back with this. And then we're trying to figure out how to, make a show fit in a format, because otherwise we wouldn't have come out on time. So we're like creating kind of accordions and whatnot. It was a very strange time. And we went down for 2 weeks, and there was a lot of uncertainty of what was going to happen to the show. And, thankfully we came back, and we've, now where we're at, from that last season into this season, it's a world of difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for everyone watching, that stuff's not scripted either. That stuff
no,
just
not at all.
That is, yeah. Oh,
We have not, knock on wood, had. We're not doing this live. If you guys are watching YouTube, you know how YouTube works. It's not live. Well, sometimes it's, but we've not had a guest situation where it's gone off the rails. Would I want that? Sure. Just because, why not? No getting ideas, Carlos.
No. I'll be on my best behavior for now.
Right. Perfect. But yeah, that it's just, because we love talking to people about the film industry and every aspect of it. And sometimes there's a little bit of an unknown when it comes to talking. So
Listen,
just,
everyone has their own opinion, and everybody,
right.
You might think the Batman is the greatest movie of the year, and I might think that it's Showgirls back in the day. I don't know.
Showgirls is also one of the best movies of all time. Let's be honest. That's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah. That's a different podcast.
A whole different podcast. But speaking more of live, you've also done work in award shows. So
Yes.
what is your job on an award show? How does it differ from being on the talk?
It's not all that different. When you start getting into doing like comedies or game shows, then we're getting into a different realm.
Sure.
I've been lucky enough to do kind of all of it. But award shows are so structured. So there's a lot less of that uncertainty and a lot less of those surprises. It's also, and forgive me for anyone who does award shows that's out there watching, but it's also the people who produce it are much older, and they're very much stuck in the old way of doing things.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's a very interesting mix when I get thrown in there, because I am not that kind of person. And they're very much to the book, and for me, as a, most of the time I do those as an associate director. So basically a lot of it is leading the director to what's coming up next, and letting the camera crew know who's, where the nominees are, what table they're sitting at, who the winner is going to be, so that everyone's prepared, and what music's going to be played and whatnot. So it's a lot of organization when it comes down to that. Telling the director, okay, we're moving on to the next award. Presenters are backstage. Director knows when to cue them. They come on stage, and then you've got normally a nominee package. Usually they're around a minute 30. You count out of that so the director knows when to come back on camera. And then I've got somebody behind me telling me the winners at this table. So I'd say camera 5, you're at that table, stand by, and they'll follow them onto stage. And that's kind of the structure of the award show. And then in the middle, you've got live, musical performances, and that's a different mentality, because music, as an associate director, is still letting the director and the crew know what's coming up next, but you're doing it in a musical arrangement. So, like what a lot of times what I'll do is I'll tell the director that we've got a guitar solo coming in 4 bars, and I'll count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got your camera shot on the guitar.
Wow. Yeah.
So, those are kind of a little tidbits of what happens in award shows.
Sure. I'm gonna just do a 2-parter and piggyback off of that, because you mentioned it's very structured and a lot of an older. You've done it a while now. Do you have any ideas or tips of what do you think would make award shows fresh? What could they change to sort of? I know it's putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I just think that it's live, because it's live television. It doesn't have to follow the same script they had the year ago.
There you go.
And that's the thing. And so you tune into the Oscars, you're going to get a musical number to open the show, if you have the right host.
Yeah.
And that they're going to start with this, the supporting actor or supporting actress, and it's very predictable. So I think what a lot of award show producers need to do is just kind of change, I mean, yeah, you're still going to give away the awards and it's still going to be that.
Sure. Yeah.
But, I think, maybe adding a little bit more of like a live theater aspect to it, or doing more musical productions. I mean, if you watch the Oscars, all you're watching when they do the musical production or the musical acts are just, the songs that are nominated for best song.
Mhm.
Maybe add some more kind of like interview backstage. People talking about the films that are up for best picture, aside from that one moment where they bring on someone who was in the film and they introduce it and we see like a 30-second package of what the film's about. Maybe those are kind of some of the things that can be new and fresh.
I agree.
I would have,
Yeah.
if you just watch the SAG Awards, Michael Keaton rolled on stage, and I think they need more of that.
Yeah.
I think everyone should have to roll on stage.
Yeah.
Or just more Michael Keaton. Come on.
Just nominate him for everything.
You can never go wrong with that. Absolutely.
You didn't bring up SNL. With your resume, have you ever tried to work on SNL? I mean,
it's interesting. I mean, obviously, they're in New York. And funny enough, I have worked with the directing team from SNL. Don King, who has won multiple DGA awards and awards for directing SNL Emmys, is the first director that I worked with at CBS in New York. He used to do The Early Show, when it was The Early Show.
Yeah.
And then Mike Mancini, who is his AD, although I don't think he's there anymore. They were a very good team together. But I think that idea is kind of in the past, unless someone's offering me a chance to move back to New York.
Absolutely. Or create a West Coast SNL.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility for something like that. I would love for it to be some type of prime time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Maybe not like a Saturday night type prime time, but maybe like a Thursday night type thing, or that would be really cool. I mean, I know ideas have been floating around for a while for that type of variety show to make another appearance, but and unfortunately SNL has kind of dropped off in its quality. But hey, if Lorne Michaels is out there, you want someone young and fresh.
Lauren watches the show all the time. Longtime fan.
Oh, that's the only reason I took this interview.
Hey. Still honored.
So okay, you do a lot of daytime television. Have you ever thought about doing the late night stuff?
I've done a little bit of it, mostly as fill-in work. I did back when Craig Ferguson was still around. I did a little bit of that. I filled in. I tried to fill in and over at Court, and I have a lot of really good friends that are over there. We did a week of late night at the Talk.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing it. I just, the way that kind of life has the path it's opened up for me is kind of just kept me where I'm at.
Plus your daily schedule have to change. I'm assuming you guys shoot all that stuff at like 7, 8 in the morning. And
we're in at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
We have rehearsals all morning up until about 10:30, and we're live at 2 o'clock on the East Coast. So
absolutely.
Yes.
That's early. That's early.
Yeah.
There's no way to spin it. That is early in the morning.
Yeah. Like I filled in at Kimmel. I've done. It's one of those things where a lot of my friends work on those shows, and when they need a day off, they might give me a call. So it's one of those deals. Full time, I would like to do it if it's a directing gig.
Sure, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always loved television. I'm just internet. If you're out there, I'm 38 years old. No matter what time you're watching this video, but I love sitcoms. I love game shows. And you mentioned variety shows like Carol Burnett, all these other shows. And one of the reasons I think SNL maybe is sort of lacking is there's no competition, right? I mean, when there's Mad TV and these other things, it keeps them in the color on their toes. And I do think that we need more game shows as Americans, because America is game shows, right? So what is some of your favorite game shows that you were able to work on? And would you, if you had an idea tomorrow about a brand new game show that you would do, would it be something you would pitch, create it, or you're like, man, maybe I'll let someone else create it and I'll just direct it?
You know, it's funny. You know, because the game show genre has its moments where it becomes kind of a part of your life, and then it disappears for whatever reason. You know, when I first moved out here, I moved out here to do Big Brother 2. That's going very far back. And then after Big Brother 2, I got a call to work on Weakest Link, which I would love if they brought it back, but with Anne Robinson.
Absolutely.
I love Jane Lynch. Jane Lynch is a sweetheart, but there's nobody like Anne Robinson.
No.
You know, I also was lucky enough to be a part of the startup of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? I have a place in my heart for the Gong Show.
Oh yes.
I've done 3 different pilots for it. and I worked on the short-lived version with Dave Attell. So those are kind of, I hate to say it, but those are kind of the types of game shows that I really like to work on.
Yes,
are the ones that kind of humiliate people.
What we want to watch.
So, you know, if you guys can come up with something along those lines, because as you say, you know, it's funny. You know, I'm, you know, obviously I'm married, I have children, and divorced, so I had split time with my kids, and it's really difficult after a while to be the type of person who's constantly able to be creative. Sure. So kind of what I tell a lot of people when they're asking me to pitch myself to them, I tell them, look, like I'll be creative on the day that you hire me, and I'll promise you that you'll get the best directing that you'll see, and, you know, a fresh and young and new perspective to what television is, as opposed to what you already see. And especially in the live television world, you know, many of them are my coworkers. Some of them have been my mentors, but we're at a point where it's time to open up the doors, and agents don't want to, they're only pitching the usual suspects. And you know, as time goes on, you know, you just gotta freshen up the perspective of television. You know, I think people are definitely tired of seeing the same old.
Yes, 100%. And especially now everyone can go to a streaming service. You know, the networks need to get, well, networks have their own streaming services too now, but still, there needs to be a change, a fundamental shift. And
they like to go with what works, as opposed to taking risks.
You see that?
Can we also say, look at that badass Star Wars mug? You're just a cool dude. Come on.
There you go.
Look at that. Oh,
that's so sweet.
Yes, that was a Father's Day gift from I think 2 years ago.
Now you said you love music. What's a band that's no longer around that you would have loved to have worked with?
Besides,
man, that's no longer around. Queen.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Freddie Mercury Queen.
Freddie Mercury Queen.
Oh yeah. Rush.
Oh yes, Carlos, we're best friends now. Look at that.
Yeah, I think my wife would kill me if I didn't say Journey.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, Pink Floyd. I mean, that list is just. I mean, that's the when music was real.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's interesting. My son, who's 9 years old, he's become a little drummer himself, and he's taking lessons, and his favorite band is Queen.
That's
And
awesome.
that's all he ever wants to listen to. And he did a classic rock camp at school rock, and when they started doing that, and he wound up playing Satisfaction for the first time.
Whoa.
Little Rolling Stone. Oh man.
Wow.
That was just what brings it all together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's parenting done right too. If you
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
your kids, absolutely. And I would be remiss not to, you mentioned your wife earlier. I want to give her a shout out. My girlfriend Mary connected us all together with your girlfriend, wife Jennifer. And there's my shout out for the my next question would be to you. So if you were to go back in time and give one piece of advice to your younger self, right when you got started, maybe when you moved to California, we'll say that, would you change anything? Would it be advice to do something completely different, or would just kind of what would you give? And maybe, I guess, people that are watching, because our ultimate goal, I love talking to everyone, but I want people to watch these videos and become inspired and learn things. I mean, I honestly probably say that you've really taught in this video some very key moments and very key things to a lot of people. So I want to appreciate you. Thank you for that so far. So
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
If I went back to that kid who moved out to LA in 2001, I would say, and this is probably the best advice I would give anybody who wants to be in the industry. Respect the process and don't change who you are.
Wow. Yeah.
A lot of people have this idea in their head that I'm going to move to Los Angeles. I'm going to move to New York, and I'm going to be a producer from day one, or I'm going to be a director from day one. And quite honestly, I don't think if you do that, I don't think you're being fair to yourself. No. Because you might find along the way that your passion may lead you elsewhere. Never did I think that I was going to move to LA and work live television. Even early when I was here in LA, I formed a group of people that I was doing. Some people who moved out to LA after I did from college. And we wound up doing some film shorts and start, doing that stuff while I was still working, trying to make money to be able to pay the rent. And along the way, I realized, at least for me, because I still really do like the single camera world, but for me, the payoff is just so incredible, and the rush and the adrenaline, it's so incredible doing live television, because you just get the feeling right away, as opposed to waiting 6 months down the line to watch how that final edit came out. And everyone's path is going to be different. Mine just kind of went in this direction, but I respected the process. I came out, and I started in New York. I started as an intern, and I learned as much as I could about everything, about audio mixing, about editing, because I ultimately knew that I needed to learn about all of the production aspects before I really knew what I ultimately wanted to do. And it's interesting because the generation that's coming out of school right now, because they've had so much available to them. There's so many platforms, and when they got to school, Final Cut was a thing. All these things that I didn't know about or didn't exist until I actually left college and graduated. People forget that there was a process beforehand where you literally had to cut from tape to tape. And you're piecing a story together, because if you don't do it correctly, you've kind of messed it up. That's with Avid, you can just kind of move things around and you're fine. But they come out here, they think that they're all going to be producers right away, and they don't really respect the fact that they've been given an opportunity. I've had occasions where production assistants will, it's their first or second job in the industry, and they don't want to do the legwork. And yeah, it sucks. It's like, you don't want to be making coffee for people. You don't want to be, delivering things from door to door, from office to office, and doing kind of like the dirty work. But if you don't do that, you don't learn how to respect yourself and, like I said, the process, because you move yourself up when you do that. I started as a page, as an intern, then a CBS page in New York, and that opened doors for me, and it just kind of became a web. And when I worked as a page in New York, I remember being interviewed for the job, and they said, well, what is it that you want to do? And I told them directing. And then they're the ones that kind of started pointing me over there to that live TV thing, doing news. And they said, listen, best thing a director can do is work with a script.
That's right.
So we're going to have you put the script together for our director. And, that went from CBS News to The Early Show with Don Roy King, of SNL. And I remember he never turned his back to acknowledge me. But when I handed him that script, he put his hand out like this, and then you'd put the paper in his hand and you knew he got it. And I've been very lucky along the way to learn from the people who had been doing the jobs before me. One of my mentors unfortunately passed away 3 years ago, not too long ago, February 17th, 2019. But he gave me so many opportunities. His name's Michael Dimich. You may have never even heard of him, but he won 2 Emmys for directing Ellen. He won an Emmy for directing The Price is Right, the one year he was doing it. I worked with him on At Midnight. And then, other names that you wouldn't know, because, unfortunately, live television directors aren't really very famous. They're not household names, but,
they should be.
They should be. And, more than just the guy who directs the Grammys and, and the ones that win all the DJ awards.
Right. But that's really solid. Paying your dues, and I do think that is a little bit of a thing with the younger generation. It's that instant gratification. If you can go and film a couple of TikToks and you blow up, you're like, that's it, I've done it. No, that's not going to sustain your career.
It takes patience. Not everybody's going to be like, Kevin Smith or like Quentin Tarantino and get that directing gig in their early 20s. Those are very rare cases. And that was one of the things that I struggled with quite a bit. Because when I started doing all these shows, I was like, man, all these directors that I'm working with are in their 40s. I'm like, I can't see myself waiting that long to be a director.
Sure.
But man, as soon as I got into that Directors Guild, there was just a sense of relief, but also a really big sense of accomplishment. When I got my DJ card, that was the day that I really felt like, I really accomplished what I came out here to do. And it was as an associate director, and wasn't necessarily being like the main director, but you know what? That DJ card opened up doors to start directing international broadcasts of UFC, to doing a lot of live television for public broadcasting. I've done a lot of stuff for PBS as a director. I've done a lot of, and it connected me to other people in New York who I still work with every once in a while, who do big shows for HBO and live theater that we film for as film specials. This just that is why I love doing the type of television, the type of specials that I do, because there's like no limit to what we do, and a lot of times when you get into the dramatic world and you're doing single camera, you're kind of placed in that niche. True. And you're like, you're only, it's like, Carlos, you're only going to do dramas. Or, if you're doing comedies, you're only going to do comedies. Commercials, that's all. You're going to spend your career doing commercials. With this, I at least get to still work with comics. I still get to do comics, comedies, and I still get to do game shows and, talk shows, and it, it'll continue to evolve, I'm sure.
And stay humble. You are also a very humble person, which helps. You've got a great energy, great vibe, and that's what we try to, portray as well. We'd be just as equally psyched to talk to you as Kevin Smith, like you mentioned, or Tarantino. It would be the same thing. And we've got a small YouTube channel, and we created it not thinking that we're going to get 1 million subscribers right away. We just have a focused goal to bring this information and talk to people and connect on a human level and a professional level. But yeah, it's just get those expectations down, work hard to get them, and then you become Carlos.
Exactly. Well, like you said, thank you for telling me that I'm humble, and
welcome, man.
It is a lot about attitude, and I'm sure you guys have heard it's a lot of it is networking, and if you don't have a good attitude going into something, you're gonna have a really long and hard career, and and you're gonna have to try to get along with people that you really don't like. And maybe they don't like you, but it's like solidarity. Like, I've worked with directors I really don't like to work with. I've worked with some that are really great. It's much like any other job, any other industry. You're gonna run into so many different types of personalities, and the opportunity that you get when you get a job is to sell yourself. And I've been lucky enough to do this since 1998.
Dude, that's awesome.
So
that is awesome. So I want to touch on something you talked about, how paying your dues and starting at the beginning, because it's true. If you start at the beginning and you want to be, say, an actor, and you do your dues and you get to do everything you can, your path could lead into something else you didn't realize. So prime example, I started out and I wanted to be a director, which that's what my main thing is. But I never thought about producing anything. And I was like, you know what, I've got some free time. I want to produce a show on YouTube. And that's what this is, Hollywood Interviews. And then I started like, well, I like producing. I like building something from the ground up. So yeah, definitely when you get in the industry, do it all, because you might want to be an actor and you get on set and you're seeing what the director's doing and you're like, no, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I love that. That's very true. It is like a web too. Like
it really is. It's like you're saying, I spent a lot of my career as a script supervisor, and one of the things, having worked at the Talk, I started there as a script super. And then the opportunity kind of came up where there was an opening for their post production associate director. And had I never had experience having learned the post-production side of production, then I wouldn't have had that the ability to be able to translate what the director wants out of his product into the language that you speak with editors, because it's completely different.
Oh yes.
I mean, my director speaks a very different language than my editors. And it's my job to translate all that. But like, yeah, you got to learn it all as much as you can. I mean, I didn't start learning how to use a switcher until I was doing UFC productions for Brazil, and my technical director called in sick, and somebody's got to punch the buttons.
Yep.
So hey, so I got thrown into that and learned how to use a switcher. So you have to continue. And even to this day, like, there are people who I used to work with who were teachers of mine, and they're still stuck in doing things the old way. And television production, film production, they've changed so much through the years, that you have to evolve. If you want any kind of longevity in your career, you've got to evolve. I evolved from taking script notes with a pencil and a ruler to doing it all digitally. I mean, at this point, like the talk, I don't use any paper at all. I notate everything all digitally, and I mean, it's just something that you really just have to do.
Yeah, it's been weird because I've been doing background extra work for years, and it's really funny to watch. Back in the day, yeah, you would have people walking around with clipboards and paper and pen, and now everyone's walking around with iPads. It's like,
yeah.
A lot of times have changed.
Absolutely, it really has. Yes.
Oh, those times have changed. Well, it's cool too, because with the iPads, you can just, when you need to take pictures of stuff, you can, like the PAs, my God, they love the iPads.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's awesome.
And it's interesting to do a show with people who don't really want to leave the paper world. Right. And you're like, no, come join the dark side. Like, it's really a lot easier. Trust
you can do everything with the iPad now. I mean, everything. So yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah. I mean, we use a program, and there's a bunch of them that are like this. That has it's called EMPS, and it's a lot like iNews. And other programs that that have a living rundown. They use it in news all the time. It's a living rundown, and you click on a cell and it opens up your script, and somebody's working on it, and it updates it all by itself. And I'm constantly going in there, putting in all my notes. Like, this is where I need camera here, camera 3 here, and we're going to be going to a tape machine here, and we've got stills here that graphics are playing back. I mean, it's can't follow paper anymore, because really, what if you lose that script page?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have had the opportunity once, or a moment once, when I was working with this one director on a pilot, and he dropped his script because he was rearranging it out of his binder, and all of the pages went all over the place, and we really had to start taping, and that made me think, okay, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah. Have all these papers thrown around.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's been fantastic, Carlos. Thank you again for being on the show. If you guys are watching out there and you're not watching CBS The Talk, you just finish watching this video first, then put on The Talk, and of course, if you like the content that we're producing, like and subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. Drop a comment too on some of your favorite daytime television, some of your favorite talk shows, game show ideas. We'll see what we can do. All I absolutely. It's been a great night. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you to both of you. Thank you.